There is no such thing as an average day. You know, in German, there's a word for the average day. Alltag. And we use it all the time, and I want to talk a little bit about it. So welcome to this NEXTletter. This isn't really a newsletter. It's more like a pause, something you open, take a breath, and maybe leave one thought that stays with you longer than expected. So every other Friday, I share one question, two perspectives, and one small experiment. Nothing you have to do, something to sit with. So a few weeks ago, I was walking up a hill with someone I'm coaching. And to our left, there was a cemetery, gravestones, and it was quiet. That kind of afternoon light that feels beautiful and a little fragile at the same time. So I asked him very casually, "So how is it going?" He stopped walking, looked ahead, not at me, and he said, "Honestly, just Alltag, just an average day." And the way he said it, it wasn't neutral. It sounded tired, like life was happening, but not really to him. I hear that word a lot from partners and clients, from friends, sometimes from myself, and I understand it. Alltag was never meant to be a bad thing. It was supposed to be grounding, reliable, and safe. But somewhere along the way, stable quietly turned into same. And sameness has a way of draining the color out of things. Nothing dramatic happens, nothing is wrong, but time starts slipping through your hands. Weeks blur and years move faster than they should. Not because nothing is happening, but because we stopped really noticing. So let me ask you something. Not a comfortable question, but an honest one, a very personal one. Is today a good day to die? Take a second. And I'm not being dramatic. I'm not talking about death, really. I'm talking about aliveness. Because when you ask that question honestly, you suddenly notice what matters. Who you'd call, what you'd regret not saying, where your attention actually is. It wakes up something in you, and it wakes up something that, back to this idea of average day, is really interesting because our mind state loves routine. It's efficient. It saves energy. It tells us, relax, you've been here before. That's helpful. But there's a side effect to that. When days feel repetitive, our brains stop recording them properly, and memory gets compressed. Time feels like it speeds up. That's why a 2-week vacation can feel fuller than 2 months of regular work. Not because more happens, but because we pay attention. We expect those days to matter. Tuesday, we assume we already know how that goes. So we half live it. That's a line I keep coming back to from Heraclitus. You can't step into the same river twice, not just because the river changes, but because you do. Every day is that river. Even the boring ones, especially the boring ones, actually. But our mind prefers yesterday. It's easier, and efficiency wins, and presence loses. So here's another way to look at it. Impermanence. People often hear that word and think it means loss. But it really just means this. Nothing stays exactly the same. Not your thoughts, not your body, not your relationships. not even your so-called routine. Change is always happening. We just stop noticing when it's slow. That's why average day, Alltag, is a bit of a lie. There's no baseline, no repeat button. There's only today, this version of it. And it will never come back. That doesn't mean panic. It means participation. So let me share something small. Every morning I wake my kids with the same 3 sentences. It's a beautiful day. It's your day. Let's make it the best one yet. Sometimes they laugh, but honestly, sometimes they are just annoyed. And last week, my daughter looked at me and said, "It's raining, Daddy." And she was right. And I said, "Even better. Let's see what makes a rainy day beautiful." She rolled her eyes. But later, after breakfast or at breakfast, she told me about a dream she'd had, something she usually forgets. And that's the point. The ritual doesn't make the day special. It makes it noticeable. And honestly, it's as much for me as it is for them. So here's your experiment. Nothing big. Tomorrow morning, pause just for a second and ask yourself, if this were the only version of today I'll ever get, how do I want to meet it? That's it. So one more thing before we close. If life is working, but something in you feels slightly off, slightly unfinished, my one-on-one future coaching is a space for that. Not to fix you, not to optimize you, but to reconnect you with the future you actually want to live. If that feels familiar, you're invited. You'll find the waitlist in my email to you. And I keep thinking about that walk up the hill, the gravestones, the light fading. Every name there was a life made of days. Not big moments, just days, unrepeatable ones. There is no such thing as an average day or Alltag. Only days we sleepwalk through and days we meet awake. Tomorrow, someone will wake up and think, just another day. They'll be wrong. So will you. With future love, I'm Frederik.